Yo, what's popping, man? It's Wednesday. The Celtics play the Oklahoma City Thunder later today. But before then, we need to talk about Sam Hauser going on an absolute tear. Big time third quarter. One of the best games we've seen from him all year, if not the best game we've seen from him all year. He's been struggling with those back issues. They've been hurting him bad. I'm your boy, Adam Taylor. I'm joined by my homie, compadre, co host in crime, Mr. Wayne Breezy from Bleacher Report. What's popping, Wayne?
What's going on, everybody out there, man? It's good. Season's coming to an end soon. We got like maybe 2 more weeks, 2 or 3 more weeks of basketball, right?
Yeah,
At least
regular
Celtics
season.
basketball, yeah, regular season. So I think the Celtics going to be looking to finish strong. I'm not sure. Is this the last home game? Or do they have more home games after tonight's game in OKC? I can't remember off the top of my head, but they need to figure out a way to get it done. I definitely like what I saw from the Celtics against the Utah Jazz, a team that was scrappy. The Celtics they struggle against scrappy teams. They play different against competitive teams. The Celtics definitely looked like they had their hand on the gas against the Utah Jazz the other night, and they were up by like 20 at one point, and then they just allowed the team to kind of like claw back and scrap back. But the man of the night was Sam Hauser. I mean, we finally got a game where Sam Hauser just said, "You know what? I could do this." And he did it. And he kept shooting. 11 for 23 from the floor. Shot almost 50% from the floor. He shot almost 50% from the three, right? And that's what you want. 9 for 19 from the three. But he finished with 33 points. And he just looked confident. And I don't know if it's because he saw the ball go in or what, but that was amazing from Sam Hauser. That was amazing. And we need more of that. If he's gonna be a sharpshooter, if he's gonna be a shooter, just shoot. Shoot your shot, bro.
You know what was interesting? It came almost a year to almost exactly a year since his last career high. So I wrote about this yesterday, right? I was doing a breakdown for the newsletter and I was looking at Sam Hauser a bunch because obviously why wouldn't you? So
Mm-hmm.
I put it up on the screen here. So let me just enhance this a little bit so everybody watching can see as well.
There you go.
So Sam Hauser, his previous biggest hot scoring night was a 30-point outing against the Pistons on March 17, 2024. He's
Mm-hmm.
only scored 20 or more points on one other occasion this season, which was also against the Pistons. So he likes playing Detroit, and apparently he likes playing against Utah as well. I just found it interesting that it was like, yo, when we're looking at everything going on, and the way Hauser was playing in those opening quarters and the way he didn't look great in the first and second to then just light up in the third.
Yeah.
This was for me the best performance we've seen on him all season. Just the way his hips were square into the basket as he was coming off screens. They were using him as a catch and shoot guy. They ran one play for him where he come off a screen. They ran like a zoom action. Then they flowed that into like a veer exit and he popped back out onto the perimeter and hit that shot. That was a really impressive play for me because the hip flexibility that you need to be able to do that
Mm-hmm.
means that the lower back issues can't be hindering him the same way they were before, because you need to be able to square your hips quickly towards the basket if you want to be able to get that shot off. So that's an encouraging sign for me, is like, yo, they were running him off actions that you need that hip flexibility for, and they weren't really doing that earlier in the year. So hopefully we're going to see this version of Sam Hauser moving forward, and if that's the case, then he's peaking at the right time.
Yeah, it's perfect time, right? And last year we saw him peak around the same time, but then in the playoffs he gave us the defensive prowl. Like he had his assignment and he stuck to it. So look, this whenever we talk about Sam Hauser, we know that there were issues going on with Sam Hauser, right? We knew that,
Yeah,
but
for
we were
sure.
just trying to figure out like how can he get into a flow to build the confidence to shoot a shot. I like how you broke everything down. And for me, if we're getting this version of Sam, whether he starts or if he's coming off the bench, like he's just got to be the guy that knows that I'm a shooter. That's what I am. That's what I do well. I'm going to shoot my shot. And I'm hoping against the Jazz, he got that boost of confidence. Now, I don't know who the starting lineup is going to be tonight. I do know we're dealing with some ailing injuries. Jaylen Brown is listed probable. Porzingis is listed questionable. Tatum, so I'm hoping if Sam Hauser plays tonight, he plays with that same type of, swag on the offensive side, but his energy is going to be used defensively for sure because he's got to play keep up with some of the fastest players in the NBA against the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, and they're going to hunt him. Like, I feel like we can understand that first and foremost. They're going to try and hunt Hauser whenever they can. They'll run pick and roll. They'll try and hunt him on switches. They'll
Damn.
even probably try and just hunt him in transition. If they see him trying to build out to the ball down on the low help line, they might just go straight at him. What I will say about the Thunder is the way their defense is set up is going to make life difficult for Hauser anyway, because
Okay.
they're such a good perimeter defensive team. In both in terms of their ability to limit the amount of perimeter shots and their ability to impact the team's ability again to be able to knock those shots down. So I'm just going to pull up some stats here. I'm going to zoom back in for everybody as well so we can look at what I'm talking about here. So if we come down, oh, I've gone too far zoomed. Hello, this is the downside of live streaming, right? Because everything's in real time. So I want to go to shooting frequency on defense. So what this is here is how many times, and I want to go to team, not lineups, my mistake. So what we're doing is we're looking at what this team wants you to do defensively. Frequency is what percentage of an opponent's offense are they allowing to happen. So not only are the Thunder really good at stopping you from scoring on the perimeter, they actually don't allow you to get shots off. So, sorry, no, they actually allow you to get a bunch of shots off. So they're 25th in the NBA for defensive frequency. Teams are shooting like they're just getting shots up on the Thunder. 40.3% is the average of teams' offense that goes up on the perimeter. The OKC are locking down the mid-range, they're locking down the rim, and they're forcing you into taking those threes. Now, what I will say is they're doing it in a way where they're forcing you to take contested threes. They're forcing you to take late shot threes. They're getting the ball out of the guy's hands you want it in, and they're forcing it into your third, fourth, fifth, if it's bench rotation, sixth or seventh option. So that's what then leads to, if we flip over to accuracy, that's what then leads to them being the best 3-point defensive team in terms of 3-point field goal, defensive 3-point field goal percentage. Teams are only shooting 34.2%. So they're taking, so on offense, 4 out of 10 shots against the Thunder's defense are coming from deep. In terms of knocking them down, 3 out of 10 are are actually falling. So it's really tough to try and beat this team on the perimeter, which is obviously why the Celtics, you're like, man, these teams match up so well, because OKC is built to take away the one thing that the Celtics do.
Makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. You go back to the last game, and I know we're not necessarily previewing the game. You go back to the last game, it seemed like the Celtics, whatever their game plan was at the beginning, it was working, and they just didn't counter the adjustment properly. Like, if you go back to the last time we played them in Oklahoma City, like I felt like we had their number. We were playing faster, we were playing stronger. They made the adjustment. And when they made the adjustment, we didn't counter the adjustment. It's like we kind of went shell-shocked. Like the Celtics can't afford to go shell-shocked. I think, this is the only team, in my opinion, you're looking at the OKC Thunder, it's the only team, in my opinion, that I feel like will give the Celtics really a run for their money. Yeah. This could be literally a 7-game series, like pound for pound, and it's going to come out to, will Jason Tatum be able to lead his team, or will SGA be able to lead his team? Like, that's what's going to come down to. But don't forget of all the role players, all the other players that do their job well. These teams do match up. I don't want to say that they're younger. They're just quicker. Like they have quick. They're not built like us. We're built with a bunch of big wings. They're not built with a bunch of big wings, which automatically makes them physically quicker. And that, to me, is where I don't want the Celtics to struggle. And we have to be better in defending the perimeter. Like, what are our stats against the 3-point shot? Because they'll shoot their threes as well, especially if we leave teams wide open, which is what the Celtics have been doing for the past couple of games. It's been blowing my mind.
I'm pulling them up as we speak.
Yeah, so, it just blows my mind.
I'll share the screen again. So in terms of the Celtics defensive shots allowed and then accuracy, because obviously you can't look at just accuracy, because if a team's not letting you take a lot of shots, then the fact that you're hitting those shots is kind of irrelevant, right? If they're letting you take a bunch and you're not hitting a lot, well, then we can take away from there. So defensive shooting accuracy, the Celtics ranked 9th in terms of limiting 3-point frequency. So only 8 top 10 teams. Yeah. Okay. So only 8 teams are facing less perimeter shots per game. Boston are doing a really good job of forcing you out of the perimeter, which makes sense why this mid range is so low. You see how it's all in blue. So
Yeah.
what the Celtics are doing is they're putting so much pressure on you on the perimeter that you're taking a couple of dribbles and you're attacking in the mid range. So you're attacking those closeouts, 1 or 2 dribble pull up, Jay. 1-2 dribble, we're going to attack off the elbow. It's the same, but the same thing is they're also really good at taking away the rim. So now what happens is if you drive that closeout, you're going to have to kind of like nash that dribble under the basket and try a tough fadeaway or something that way, because the Celtics know what they want to take away. They're taking away layups, they're taking away threes. You can live in the mid range. So that's what they're doing in terms of frequency. They want you to just live with an analytically worse shot. I'm fine with that. Now, in terms of accuracy, the actual impact they have, they're one of the best 3-point defensive teams. Now, this is a bit different to Oklahoma in the sense that OKC will let you shoot them because they will dictate where those shots are coming from and who's taking them.
Correct.
Whereas Boston is like, we're not letting you shoot them at all. And when you do shoot them, we're going to impact them and we're going to choose where those. So they're having the same mentality as OKC in terms of we're going to dictate the terms of engagement, but we just don't want you letting those shots off anyway because we know you can get hot. So the Celtics are 6th in the NBA for defensive 3-point field goal percentage. So the C's are actually, in my opinion, they're playing. Boston and Oklahoma have the same mentality, just different approaches. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, I mean, it just appears to look different. I think it's like the timing of when we see teams shoot. A lot of times they're just the ball's rotating, guys are left wide open. We're helping on defense, double teaming here, and they probably play to scouting reports, right? Like I'm sure they're not expecting certain guys to hit shots because the scout report says they're not a good 3-point shooter, and the next thing you know, boom, it's going in because we left them wide open. But it just comes down to, I mean, in my opinion, the Celtics just got to continue to do what they do their job, right? They got to continue to do what they do and just do it well, do their jobs and do it well. They play their style of basketball. I like when the Celtics dictate how the other teams are supposed to play. I think you're going to get a little bit less dictation when you're going up against a Thunder risk team, like no pun intended, because they have literally the league's, I guess he's going to be MVP this year in SGA. That's what it seems like right now. So they have a player out there that's that guy. I like what Denver did to him, and they limit him to 25 points. I mean, this guy's he probably has the most 50-point games this year as a player, but they found a way to limit him. The Celtics need to, I don't know, man. How would you attack the Thunder? Would you allow SGA to be him and take away everybody else, or focus on taking away everybody else? You know what I mean? Like, how would you do? How do you think the Celtics go out and try to attack him?
Yeah, so I've always been really big, and I think this is just always my mentality. Let the star cook, because so many times you put all the effort into slowing that guy down, and the reason he's so unstoppable in terms of SGA or most like elite MVP level guys is their processing speed is so much better than everybody else's. They make decisions on a dime, and 99.9% of the time, that decision is the right decision. They just see things quicker than everybody else. Everything it's slower for them. So for me, I'm like, yo, let them do them, bait them into being an offensive hub and take away everybody else, right? Understand that other guys are still going to hit shots because good offense will and good defense, a good defensive possession can still end in a make. A good offensive possession can still end in a miss. But if you try and shut down what SGA does offensively, you're just going to turn him into a playmaker. But he's so disruptive with the way he drives and the way that he can like crush you up and how shifty he is, how fast twitch he is, that if you do just try and take away his shot, he's gonna beat you with his passing anyway. He's gonna beat you with that spray game. So I would rather be like, yo, we're gonna stay home on everybody else. We're gonna live with what SGA does to us, because at the end of the day, he's not gonna score 110, 120, 130 on his own. As long as we can impact everybody else, we can live with that. And I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into, is like, yo, you need to shut him down. Well, did you not grow up watching He Got Game? Because
right.
he got game told you can't stop him. All you can do is contain him. And the best way to contain is to take away his other weapons. You know what I mean? So that's always my personal preference to the approach.
Same here. Let the stars, like you said, let the stars cook. And, if the star could go out and drop a 130, 120, anything in that, then you give it to him. You tip it,
Yep.
right? Hat tip, But I don't expect that when you're talking about a good defensive team in the Boston Celtics. My thing is the Celtics just need to go out there and continue to do what they do. Find ways to dictate the game, dictate the flow of the game, control the energy. Like Celtics at home, I expect the Celtics to come out there and have the energy, control the energy. And they have several Energon cubes on their roster that they can use. And I don't know about you, but from the last game against the Jazz, man, I love seeing Torrey Craig shoot the three and hit the three, because that's what we were missing from him. Remember, it took him a minute to get his legs right. You know what I'm saying? And he needed to get minutes. And in that game, he was able to get minutes. I also like what I saw from Keta. I like the Cornette Keta big man rotation. There was no Al Horford. There was no Kristaps Porzingis. We'll talk about KP in a little bit. I don't expect KP to play in this game tonight either. If he does, that'll be a bonus, but I just don't expect it. But I think our bigs, they have something going for them. Keta looked a lot better defensively, moving around on the basketball court. A couple of slip-ups, but I thought he looked a lot better defensively going against, I guess, a less inferior Utah Jazz. But those kids came out playing basketball. So I don't want to sit there and be like, oh yeah, they trash. No, they're not trash. They're just not as advanced yet, right? I think they'll get there. Those kids played the Celtics hard. We barely, we closed it out at the end. I just need the Celtics bigs to do what they've been doing in the rotation. Brad's been doing a pretty good job at rotating those guys in and out.
Yeah, I think that Keta, one of the things with Keta with me is the comfortability that he's developed around the rim and in the paint, right? So he's playing with I've always had it described to me as personal pace, right? He's playing with personal pace. Earlier in the season, you'd send two at him, or you'd just try and pressure him off an offensive rebound, and he'd panic. He'd make a mistake. He'd either throw it back up too early, he'd try and kick it out, and it would just go into the sideline, or it'd get picked off. What I liked against Utah was it didn't matter how many bodies got sent at him. He was staying within himself. We saw one, it was kind of like an up and under finish. Another one was like a semi drop step off the block into the paint bit so he could face up a little bit more and just get a little touch shot off. There's more control in the way he's playing within that 4 feet range from the basket. And that's going to open up so much more in terms of like Boston's ability to generate positive equity out of those offensive rebounds. You don't want to just grab the offensive board and everything falls to shit because the decision making is not there and everybody's panicking. You need somebody that's going to stay cool. And I think that the last few times that we've seen Keta actually get legitimate minutes, that's what we've seen from him.
Yeah, and it's been a bonus, right? I mean, we already know what we get from him around the rim. Offensively, we know he's not afraid to he doesn't shoot, but he's not afraid to attack the basket and get his shots close to around the rim. And he looked like he got some passing game to him a little bit, like he's a little pizzazz to him.
For real.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And for me, it's all coming to fruition at the right time for the Boston Celtics, because you're getting playmaking abilities from players that you weren't expecting playmaking abilities from. And so that's going to open up how these teams are going to be like, wait a minute, he could do that? Yeah. Like, right? And so I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Celtics. So I felt like that game against the Jazz might have been some practice, but definitely way more big time competition against the OKC Thunder. They're not the best team in the league, but they're the best team in the West. They got a double-digit lead in first place game. Like, no one's close to them. Like, we're closer to the Cavs as any team in the West is closer to the Thunder, and we lost to them last time. So I think that means a lot, for the Celtics coming into the game.
Yeah, I think that, let me just, Rob, man, we hit on OKC earlier in the show. Appreciate you stopping in there. We are still talking about that a little bit, just more with the Kristaps Porzingis of everything right now. So that kind of leads me on to, they lost. And my biggest issue, like they lost in their last game, my biggest issue is always that mental side of things, right? So it's only a 2-game series against these two teams in the regular season. So the concern is no regular season game is a must win. Yo, we didn't say that, Mr. H. Wilson. That was just on the comments, man. Don't be coming at us personally. Just streaming on Instagram too. What I will say is it's a 2-game series. OKC have got one. I always look at what type of mental advantage does winning the series have if it's not close. Like if you lose, if you've got 4 games and it's 4-0, then you're going to be like, yo, this team's got our number. If it's 3-2, then or 3-1, whatever, maybe you're like, oh, they got lucky a few times. The unicorn is the solution to Chet. Is another comment that's just come in on Instagram. Porzingis at the minute is listed as doubtful, and this is kind of where we're leading into, right? He's listed as doubtful on the injury report. He's been struggling for a while now. I pissed a bunch of people off last week. I don't know if you saw this tweet, Wayne. I mean, I really upset some people, and I didn't mean to, because when I posted it, it was just facts, and I think that's what annoyed people.
Oh, that's what Celtics Twitter was. They were mad at you.
Yeah, so
Ah,
tonight will be the 68th game that Kristaps Porzingis has. This was like a few days back, so he's missed 2 more games since then. But what I basically tweeted out was that since the Celtics acquired Porzingis, he's missed roughly 41% of all games that they've played. Period. That's playoffs and regular season. So 4 out of every 10 games, KP is sitting down, and that's pissed a bunch of people off. But what I'm getting at is him not being available is something the Celtics need to be prepared for at all times, because that's just the nature of the Kristaps Porzingis experience. You feel me?
I do feel you. Because I mean, your best ability is your availability, and not being available can hinder how the team operates. Luckily for the Celtics, they have a game plan with Porzingis and a game plan without Porzingis. That luckily for the Celtics, and I feel like Missoula coaches that very well. I'd much rather have Porzingis on the basketball court. But I'm curious, like, what did you say verbatim? Read your tweet, because that's I want to know what made the Celtics nation pissed. Because
I mean,
I
was
saw
just some people. I won't say everybody was.
well, I saw people comment in general, not towards you, just in general, about his health. And so I'm curious to know, like, if they were taking a stab at you, because we didn't necessarily know the health portion of what was going
it
on.
popped off, like the tweet popped off. It got views. Tonight will be the 68th game that Kristaps Porzingis has missed since the start of the 2022, 2023, 2024 season. This includes the playoffs. That means Porzingis has missed 41% of the Celtics' total games since joining the franchise. That was it. It was literally a factual based post.
It was you took the words right on. You didn't even have to say that. I just wanted to make sure I heard you the first time. It's all facts.
People took that as me saying, like, yeah, I'm not a Kristaps Porzingis guy, and
no.
Couldn't be further from the truth, right?
It's all facts.
Again, my point being is, if you're the Celtics and you know that Porzingis has availability issues, let's say, throughout his career, you have to be prepared to play games like this against a team like Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Without him on the floor, because there's a good chance, there's a 40% chance
he's not going to play.
He's not going to be there, or he's at least going to miss one of those games. Do you know what I mean? So
statistically, you're 100% correct. And for those, some people are just tied to players. Like, listen, availability is your best ability. I get it. And he's needed to be out there. He's being paid to be out there. But I mean, unfortunately, he got stricken with an illness that's not allowing him to play. I don't know if you've ever been sick, and you've been to the doctors and they can't diagnose you. Like, that's a scary feeling. That's happened to me twice in my entire life. And so I remember being in the hospital for 2 weeks and gotten tested for everything you can possibly known, from mono to HIV, AIDS, all that stuff. Just got tested, and everything came back negative. And the doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. Like, they couldn't even treat me until they broke my fever, right? And so, like, it took this one little lady to just say, hey, give him an air-conditioned blanket. Like, literally, it broke the fever, and then antibiotics worked. No lie. Whatever that fever that got, and still, when I went back for the checkup, they still didn't know what the hell I had. And so Porzingis is dealing with some type of illness. Like, yeah, he looks the part, but now you're asking him to speed up his heart, sweat, work out. We don't know what it can do to him if you can't diagnose him. So I get the caution there. And so for some fans, I feel like they know that information or they knew that information, so they kind of felt like they wanted to lash back, even though you just stated a factual statement. But I think it sounded, because you went factual, because you said anything about Kristaps Porzingis that wasn't positive, it was going to be.
And that's just the nature of the game, right? Like,
But if he wasn't sick, I think it would have been valid, and people would have been like, you know what, Adam, you're right. But because he's sick,
they're like,
you
yo, man's sick. And I'm like, I get that, but at the same time,
you can't say you get it and then say but, because because the emotional part, Adam, the emotional part, the tie, the emotional tie.
I think this is where I struggle, right? Because I deal with basketball emotionally during the off season.
Because you can, you should.
Because I can, but like in the season, I'm in work mode, so like emotions to the side. I'm like, yo, this dude's not playing, so from here it needs to be what's plan B, what's plan C,
for sure.
And then my mind starts going to like, what playbook are they going to use?
For sure, like your end game, your end season mode. So let me just say this: there's nothing wrong with what you said. But I'm just giving you, you know what was wrong with me? I'm super optimistic, right? I always have the fans at heart, but I understand where you're coming from. I mean, hell, listen, I try to make sure what I say it, I write it, I read it, I let the computer read it back to me. I'll be like, nah, this might come off wrong.
And this is the hard part, dude. Like, it's bad enough that some people are like, you're not, like, and this is what gets me. Some people will say to me, like, you're not emotionally invested enough in this team. I'm like, dude, I live, breathe, and sleep the Celtics more than 99.9% of the people. I watch more film than most people, if not everybody. Like, I'm invested, but at the same time, I want to be able to look at something from like a point of view of being like, the dude's not playing. Why are you shocked?
Facts are facts.
You know what I'm saying?
At the end of the day, fact.
I don't expect him to play against Oklahoma. I'd actually think it was a bit malpractice if he did, just because you know what it's like when you've been sick, man. You got no energy, your body's sore. You need time to like recover, and then you're putting him into one of the most intense basketball environments there is, because like, yo, it's gonna be chippy. OKC want to win, Boston want to win. There's a point to prove, so they're trying to get that mental advantage. Honestly, at this point, I would just say sit KP for the game and live with it.
I agree with that 1,000%. I agree with it. I mean, we got other games he can play in. You know, we're hitting the road. He could play in Miami if he travels. He could play against the Nets. I mean, what's wrong with playing in Nets? Or he can return at home on March 18th and play against the Nets. Like, there's other games to where you want to ease him coming in. I dealt with this on a football level with a player that had pneumonia, and you know the fan base went bananas, and I'm like, yo, he could have literally died on the football field. I'm not gonna mention the player name, and so you got to ease him back in. And so I totally get with this. I like my sentimental ties to players when they're not feeling well or whatever. I totally understand that, but I also understand the factual side, and the facts are the facts, man. He's not there. What you need to do though is talk about when Kristaps Porzingis isn't on the court, how great the Celtics still play and win. Like, I think that would, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would be something to know, that the Celtics will be all right if he's not able to be out there on the basketball court.
Let's see what StatMuse has to say about this. And I don't like StatMuse.
None of us do, because it's weird, right? Like, it's not always...
but like when you're just in the moment and you just want
it comes in a clutch, bro. It's clutch. It's clutch.
Celtics record without Kristaps Porzingis this season. They're 27-6 without Porzingis in the rotation this season.
You know, and we kind of got to go and say against who, right? Like, I think that matters. Right?
I can help. Okay, so we'll just go for good teams.
Okay, good.
And like we can put this in a vacuum a little bit if you want, and we can be like, what are we classing as good? I'm gonna class good as a team I expect to make the postseason this year.
That's fine.
So the Knicks, they won.
Yep.
Detroit, they won. Detroit are going to make the playoffs this year. Milwaukee,
right,
they won. Like Boston won. Milwaukee is going to make the playoffs. Indiana, they beat. Indiana's maybe they make the postseason. I don't know. The Warriors, they beat the Warriors. They beat Milwaukee twice. They beat the Timberwolves.
Okay.
They beat Milwaukee 3 times without Kristaps
Without
Porzingis.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, they beat the
Wow.
Clippers. They beat the Pacers 3 times. They've beat Minnesota once. They beat Golden State once. New York once. There's been a bunch, and then Atlanta. Like Atlanta for me, this weird team where I'm like,
Interesting.
DeAndre Hunter's really revolutionized their whole thing. Like it's just a thing right now. What I will say is they've beat Atlanta twice as well without Kristaps Porzingis, depending on how you want to see Atlanta. So they've beat a lot of good quality teams that are going to be in the playoffs this year. Some teams that could potentially make it out of the first round of the playoffs. And without Porzingis, they're still finding ways to win. Me personally, I throw a lot of that on the way Luke Cornett has played this season.
Mhm.
I also give some flowers to Nemi, but you can't, like, old ageless Al, dinosaur Al Horford is out here, dude.
At every let's just keep it simple. Out of 3 games, he'll give you one good one. So out of every 3 games, he'll give
This is
you
Al.
yeah.
Yeah, but his positioning, dude, just
no, I know. I know.
His ability to control angles like boggles my fucking mind.
Like
just the way, dude, it's just ridiculous.
He's uniquely built, right? Like so.
Yeah, for
like,
real.
He's a big, but he's not like he's not your average big. And then he has the bend to where he can move different ways. I mean, the way he locked up the whole Lakers team. We didn't even talk about that. Like, right?
Yeah, so I got, like, you want to talk about pissing people off? So I pissed off so many people because after that Lakers game, I released a video, like, basically talking about how Luka Doncic struggles against athletic wings. Okay. And this is true. He had real big problems with OG Anunoby against the Knicks last week. But that same game that Jalen Brunson got hurt, the Knicks pushed him into overtime. Brunson gets hurt, they lose in overtime. The Knicks lose in overtime. Then he had problems against Jaylen Brown. So I went up, I put a video up saying Luka Doncic got shut down by Jaylen Brown. Now, Doncic had 34 points on 50% shooting in that game. So a lot of people saw the word shut down and the dude went he was hitting every 2 shots. But he didn't really score on Jaylen Brown. Those points came when he was switched off of Brown.
Ooh.
When he's being guarded by a Hauser, or he's been switched onto a Tatum or to a Drew Holiday or whoever, know? And people were furious with me. They're like, nah, Luka had 34 points on 50% shooting. And I'm like, but he didn't have none of them. He probably had like 4 of them points on Jaylen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The athletic dudes.
Yeah. And this is kind of the same thing with Horford. Horford's really good at taking away or impacting like the area of your shot, the arc of your shot, the timing of your shot. He controls the angle so much that it just fucks up your rhythm. And that's why I think that, like, his defensive field goal percentage, even now, is still quite good. So I think that, Horford, as much as he doesn't make a huge impact game to game in terms of just like box score numbers, I think he's essential to this rotation, even at 5,000,001.
Yeah.
And that's how old he is, 5,000,001.
I agree, man. I agree. Tough matchup, though, tonight. Just a quick recap. Probably 9 times out of 10, no Porzingis. Hopefully Jaylen Brown will play. Hopefully, we'll get the rest of the squad out there. Primetime game, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy, man. It's gonna be crazy. And I got the Celtics getting their revenge. Again, you go back to that first game, Celtics had the ticket, and then they played with their food. They couldn't adjust. And so the key to this game is going to be adjusting, because the one thing I know about Oklahoma City, they're going to find ways to score. You're not going to be able to keep them down unless they're just having a terrible, bad shooting night. But they also attack the paint a lot. So for the Boston Celtics, they just got to continue to do what they do. And I feel like Missoula's going to have those guys prepared. And not just that, the guys will be prepared. The Celtics will look a little bit different. But I do feel like the players remember. And I think that's key.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to shout out, I just want to say as well, like, let's not sleep on Mark Dagnall. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league too.
Good point.
So I'm coming into this, I'm really excited for the on-court battle, but that coaching battle is like, that's porn to me. So I'm really excited for that too.
Well, very well said. Shout out to everybody that was watching the live show. We appreciate you guys. I see Jax Knox in the building. Rob,
Yes,
thank you so
Jax.
much for tuning in too as well. It's gonna be a thriller in Boston. I wanted to say Manila because it rhymed, but we're gonna
Oh,
be
dude.
in Beantown for sure.
You said one earlier, and you was like, they're doing it, and they're doing it well, and it took everything in
I
my
did not
body.
say that. I did
You
not say
did,
that. I
you did,
did.
and
You
it
didn't
took.
hit me with the LL rep.
Oh,
How
dude,
could you
it took.
not?
You were flowing though, and like if I'd said it, it would have like messed with your train of thought. And I'm like, dude, man, I really want to hit you with it. Like I was like waiting for the bit to be like, was you born in
I'm
Queens or
disappointed,
raised
man.
down in
Whenever you
man?
have a music reference, you burst it out. That's what we do. We are
Okay,
musicians. You burst it out.
I got
Break
you.
up flow of points. Cause
Oh man.
my ADHD would have kicked in and did the whole damn song, right? And so that's what you want.
I got you next time, man, for sure. Oh god. With that, everybody have a good one. Enjoy the game. We'll catch you again, me and Wayne next Wednesday. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, do that. Head over to youtube.com, Celtics Chronicle. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, do that, CelticsChronicle.com. Sign up both of them places. Me and Wayne will be back next week. I'll be back on YouTube again tomorrow. Everybody have a good one. Peace. Yeah, that was fun.